Here we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Brother Doug here with my sister Shushannah, my brother, and we are going to be doing a study that's called How Men and Women Should Behave in the Assembly / Dressing Modestly.
We also have our sister Sally with us by phone.
Yep, she's you can't see her, but she's actually in the box right next to us. I don't know if you guys will be able to see her
And you might want to
on the recording. Yeah. So here, and we're going to start now, Enoch chapter 8, and here we go. Okay, so Enoch chapter 8, and Azazel, which he's a fallen Moloch, he was one of the watchers that came into women. You can find that in chapter 1 of the book of Enoch, and also Genesis 6, verses 1 to 4. So he's one of the watchers that actually copulated with women and brought forth giants. So it says in chapter 8 here, verse 1, and Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them in bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, which antimony is a certain type of metal you can use for medicine, so as a drug, or it can be used in cosmetics. And the adorning of the eyelids, all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And if you look up tinctures can be a combination of alcohol with drugs, like basically dissolving a certain type of drug in alcohol. So the mixture of drugs with alcohol. So we're going to really be focusing mainly, though, on where it talks about, right here you got the antimony, which can be used for cosmetics, the adorning of the eyelids, which is also cosmetics, it's women, putting makeup on. So we want to focus on that really first. It's like women,
Coloring tinctures.
yeah, coloring tinctures, which is pretty much, as far as I can tell, in the dictionary, it says that tinctures are mixing drugs with alcohol. So that's basically drug sorcery, which, if you look in the Greek pharmakeia in Revelations, where it talks about no more will the earth be filled with her sorceries or deceived by her sorceries. That word sorcery is actually supposed to be pharmakeia, like drug sorcery. So, and this is what this guy, he brought weapons of war, sorcery, antimony, which that can have to do with cosmetics and drugs. But you also see bracelets, jewelry being mentioned. So,
And verse 2 says, there arose much Elohimliness, un-Elohim.
Yeah, unrighteousness.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out a word to say instead of
the
what
Hallelujah Scriptures one actually says wickedness.
That's good.
Yeah. So basically, from this proceeded wickedness, and they committed whoring, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. So that's referring back to Genesis 7, where all flesh had corrupted themselves. And so you have this.
Samyaza taught enchantments.
Yeah, enchantments.
Root cuttings. And Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. And all of these fallen Malachim were teaching mankind things that they should not have been teaching them.
Yeah. And the reason we're bringing this up is because a lot of this stuff, women and men use modern day is like considered normal and not wicked. Like with women, the cosmetic side with painting the eyelids, bracelets, jewelry, earrings, necklaces, like we don't think is inherently wicked, but then we see the watchers are the one giving mankind this, and Yahuwah is obviously not honoring it because he punishes them for telling us of knowledge that we should have known. We should have known about this stuff. Costly stones. So where you see, we're going to get to it later in the study, but Paul even talks about that women shouldn't be adorning themselves with costly apparel and stuff like that. And so he's probably hinting back to Enoch here when he talks that women should be dressing modestly and not being worried about, dress in costly wear or very expensive type of clothing and gold and jewelry. So he's probably going right back to Enoch here.
I know from experience how women are, because I'm obviously a woman, and we tend to want to outdo each other in dress. And if somebody has something cool, you want to have something cooler. Well, this is kind of what Shaul is saying. Don't worry about doing that. That's not where we should be thinking. That's not where our hearts should be. Instead, we should be thinking about how to please Yahusha, Yahuwah, and doing Tov works, the commandments.
Yeah. So that was Enoch chapter 8, verses 1 to 2. I think we're going to continue, and actually now we'll go to Genesis with chapter 3, verses 13 and 19. And this mainly is going to talk about the headship here, how the headship between Adam and Eve after the fall, and how Yahuwah's order of things were supposed to be. So this is going to fall under the category of how we are to behave in the assembly, in a way. It says, and Yahuwah said to the woman, "Why have you done this?" And the woman said, "A nachash," or serpent, as traditionally translated, "deceived me, and I ate." And Yahuwah Elohim said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and all brutes of the earth. On your breast and your belly you shall go. You shall eat earth all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head. He shall crush your head, and you will crush his heel. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pains and your groans. In pain you shall bring forth children, and your submission shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. So in verse 16 here, just real quick, this is where the headship starts after the fall, where because of what Eve did, her punishment is now that Adam rules over her, and that he's her, in a way, he's like basically her covering. So,
her name is actually
and actually her original Hebrew name was Hava, which means mother of all living. And it says, verse 17, and to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and eat of the tree concerning which I charged you of it, only not to eat, of that you have eaten. Cursed is the ground of your labors, and pain shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of plants. And then it says, in the sweat of your face you shall eat your bread until you return to the earth out of which you were taken. For earth you are, and earth you shall return. Or aratz you are, and aratz you shall return. So basically the reason we pointed this out is because this is talking about what happened, what is the repercussions after this, and then you see that you have the man who is the head, you have the woman who is under the man because of this curse of sin and death. So this is where the headship is started, and Yahuwah established the way a husband and wife is supposed to be in a marriage. So, and just kind of think about that understanding as we go to our next cross-reference in 1 Timothy 2, chapter 2, 9 to 14, which is going to dive into that. Paul's actually going to talk more about this in context. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 and 14. In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefaced and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Now, I'm going to go to another translation because I like how the NLT puts this. The New Living Translation will actually say, hold on, let me get it here. And I want women to be modest in their appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves by the way they fix their hair or by wearing gold or pearls or expensive clothing. Basically, don't draw attention to yourselves. And basically, don't be wearing stuff to either get attention from men or to try to outdress another woman, which that's pretty much what Paul is saying here in verse 9. So as we continue here, it says, but which becomes women professing reverence with good works. Let the women learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, then Hawa, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saving childbearing if they continue in belief and charity and set apartness with sobriety. So basically what Paul's saying is that he's in context, he's not saying that women can't speak at all. He's saying that he believes that women should not be trying to usurp the man's authority in the assembly. So basically, like, you have elders in the assembly. Say you have one of the men that are a leader, you shouldn't have a woman try to have teaching authority over the man and usurp the man's position in the assembly. Basically, like, speak over a man or disrespectfully try to teach, have authority over the men in the assembly. I think that's what's actually talking about context. He's giving, like, an idea of the headship. And I think in Ephesians 4 it talks about it too, that basically women be subject to your husbands, but men also love their wives as Messiah loved the assembly and gave his life for it. So it goes both ways. Men are supposed to love their wives and protect their wives. So
First Corinthians 11.
All right, so 1 Corinthians 11, 3-6. But I would have you know that the head of every man is the Messiah, and the head of every woman is the man. The head of the Messiah is Yahuwah. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonors his head, but every woman that prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven, meaning that she would, if she has her head uncovered, she might as well shave it, basically, is what he's saying. That it's not good to have her head uncovered, and she's dishonoring her head.
And how many times have we seen in assemblies just the opposite, where the men have prayer shawls and women don't cover their heads? But this is saying we should cover our heads. And down in verse 10, the real reason we should cover our heads is because of authority. Because of this, the woman is obligated to have authority over her head because of the messengers. And he's not talking about the Kadash messengers, but the ones that are fallen.
And it says, then it goes on to say in verse 7, for a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and esteem of Yahuwah, but the woman is the esteem of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head, or is obligated to have power over her head, because of the Malachim, because of the angels, the
Yes.
watchers, the ones we just talked about in Enoch. This is what Paul, again, Paul's going back to Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman. See, it's not saying that the man has superiority, because then he goes to verse 11 and says, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in Yahuwah. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Yahuwah. Judging yourselves, is it comely that a woman to pray unto Yahuwah uncovered? Does not even nature itself teach you that if a man has long hair, it is a shame unto him? Now, what Paul is saying here is a woman should have long hair, a man should. This is natural. This is how Yahuwah created it. Most likely when Adam and Hawa were created, Adam had short hair like me and Dennis, and Hawa probably had long hair, like our sister Shushannah, at least decently long hair, like that would at least go to the shoulder about. So that's just, he's just using basically, he's saying that's how nature is, that's how it should be. And it talks about it, if a woman have long hair, it is esteemed to her, for her hair is given for a cover. So again, it's for her protection.
Over against the veil.
Yeah.
Because some people have mistakenly thought that the long hair is the covering. But these are two different things, as Paul points out. The long hair is over against the veil. I have the long hair, but I have the veil covering it.
Yeah. And so that pretty much is the end of that crossover. That was 1 Corinthians 11:3 all the way down to 15. So that basically gives you the headship, how the men and women are supposed to behave, how they're supposed to dress. Men are supposed to be uncovered when they prophesy. Women are supposed to be covered when they're prophesying and when they're praying. So, and basically you see in modern day, like Shushannah iterated that. In modern day, it's like the opposite. You have women not covering their head, and then men have like these prayer shawls.
And the little kippah.
And the little kippah hat, or known as like a yarmulke, on their heads. So, all right. So next one we got here is we're gonna now jump to Leviticus, and this is a little bit different, but it still pertains to the study. This is going to actually talk about what about tattoos and what about cutting yourself. So this is more about on your physical body, not really apparel, but this is talking about how you treat your body. You shall not make any cuttings. Leviticus 19, verse 28. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you or any tattoos. Some translations will actually literally say tattoos upon you. I am Yahuwah. So, two things that Yahuwah is directly commanding us not to do. Having tattoos or cutting ourselves by mourning for the dead. And that's in context what he's talking about. So don't make cuttings in your flesh for the dead. So that was Leviticus 19:28, pretty much self-explanatory. Unfortunately today, you have a lot of professing believers getting tattoos. They're saying, oh, this is a religious tattoo, this is okay. Yahuwah says, do not print any marks upon you. Also, branding. We also got to be careful not to brand yourselves. I know there's a lot of guys and girls out there in fraternities that, brand their bodies with that iron. No, that's not good. Yahuwah doesn't want you to do that.
And verse 27 says, don't round the corner of your head or destroy the corner of your beard.
Yep.
You want to explain what that means?
Yeah. Well, I actually did some research in the past about that particular verse. I could be wrong, but I believe that verse in context is talking about the same context as verse 28. It's about the dead. It's about men would, in pagan cultures, they would literally rip their hair off, they would actually literally mar their beards for the dead. And Yahuwah is commanding us not to do that. I could be wrong, but I've seen that in actual ancient cultures in the pagan cultures, where they actually ripped hair out, not just with their beard, but ripped their hair out of their head for the dead. So I that's my personal opinion on that verse. I believe that's what it's talking about. I don't believe he's saying not to shave at all. The only reason I say that is because there's places where he commands Yahusha to shave for certain things, like when someone takes a Levite vow. So that's the only reason I use that interpretation for that commandment, because if he's saying it's a sin to shave your beard at all, or to shave your head at all, because it also talks about your head there, then that would contradict the Nazarite vow. So that's the only reason I believe what I believe about that. I believe if you look at the pagan cultures, that's what they did. They would rip the corners of their beard. They would pull their hair out. They would cut themselves for the dead. I think it's more about doing that for the dead. And I could be wrong, but that's how I kind of look at it.
You know, today we don't understand these things because these customs are not around anymore. So it's a little bit difficult to interpret. But
yeah,
I think you're pretty much on track.
A lot of Jewish people have taken that literally, and there's some brothers and sisters that take it literally that don't shave at all, and I have no problem with that. It's very difficult because it seems like literal, but then you go to the next very verse that talks about doing stuff with the dead. So it's like you know, it's kind of like implied that context is being implied, because I think it's like the next very verse. Where does it talk about?
Do not make any cuttings in your flesh with the dead.
Yeah, so
nor tattoos.
So I think all those are like pagan cultures, like even branding and all that. That's all like heathen traditions. And cutting yourself for the dead. There's a lot of women in my generation that like get depressed. And they start cutting themselves, and that's even tiptoeing on the line that Yahusha says not to be cutting yourself, because even though you're not doing it for the dead, you're cutting yourself because you're depressed, and most likely there's a demonic spirit that's causing you to do that.
Yes.
So any women that are listening out there, you know, I definitely would encourage you to consult with someone. If you're dealing with, you know, depression and stuff like that, you start like cutting your wrist or something like that. Because I know there was a lot of women that I knew from high school and junior high that were dealing with depression doing that. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are taking tattoos today. It seems to be an epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
Even people as old as I am getting tattoos.
And what's worse is more and more professed believers are doing stuff like that. You see the cross tattoos, the Jesus face tattoos, which is commonly called the Jesus piece, which is a chain, and they break the second commandment, or what is the thou shalt not make any graven images? Is that
That's the
second commandment? Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of them like try to, you know, say, well, and I had a friend that on his one chest he had he was a Christian. He had that Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon against you shall prosper. He actually tattooed that on his chest, and it was okay because he was ignorant of that. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I know your heart was in the right place, but it's still against the commandments. It's still, and so a lot of the Christian church doesn't preach about stuff like this. They don't tell you that, even though they know it, the pastor knows it in his scriptures that he's preaching from the pulpit that says not to do that, and he still allows his congregation to be doing stuff like that. So,
and verse 29 to me is just totally abhorrent to my thinking. Do not profane your daughter by making her a whore, so that the land is not whore. To me, this is about the worst thing a father could do to his daughter. And yet, in the culture that this was written during, evidently this was a problem.
yeah.
And today, though, instead of the parents making their children whores, the culture is making them whores because they dress like whores.
This is a fad now.
And they sleep around. It's just
because their parents allow them to watch certain stuff that the parents don't think that they're brainwashed by the media that it's all right, it's okay, it's just entertainment, it's fake. So you allow your kids to watch horror movies, you allow your kids to watch this, watch that, watch, allow your kids to listen to certain music they should be listening to, and the music itself will cause them to be commit whoredom, because that's what most of the women singers talk about. They talk about, getting with someone, they're always dressed very, very scantily, very, very whorish-like, basically no clothes half the time. So that's the problem too, is that they look up, you got these little girls looking up to these, like sellouts, female sellouts that, are just leading them to the lake of fire, because that's their job. They sold their soul. So not to get on the whole another rabbit trail, but, be careful what you allow your children to listen to.
Yes. It does fall on the parents how the children are going to grow up. And sometimes you just can't stop them and they go their way after they're grown. But while they're little, try to instill the commandments.
I think part of the agenda too is to only have the Muslim women dress like modestly, to make it look like it's an evil thing. I've noticed like the whole Hegelian dialectic they call it, where they make the Muslim women look like they're crazy for dressing like that, and then they have a girl dressing half naked, like that's normal. So it's like they're trying to make it look like, oh well, what are you, Muslim for dressing like that, or what are you this, what are you that? Like it's like that's on purpose. Yeah, it's like on purpose. They're trying to make it look bad. They're trying to make dressing modest look bad. It's like woe unto them that call good evil and evil good. So that's
verse 32. Not many people are actually honoring their elders. This says that Yahweh wants us to rise up before the gray-headed, and you shall favor the face of an old man, and shall revere your Elohim Yahuwah. And how many people do this? I've seen so many of the young people today just curse their parents. And it's a horrible thing. Horrible thing. And some of the parents are not being very good either. So this is just we can definitely see this is the last generation that we are living in the end time. There is no doubt, because the evil is definitely at its full. Those who are in the spotlight that call themselves stars, they have sold their souls to the devil. I'm sorry to say this, but some of them will tell you outright that that's exactly what they've done. Because you cannot be famous.
You can't be where you are.
You can't be famous and have all this money without doing that.
I mean, the book of Job says this world has been given into the hand of the wicked. There's a reason, there's verses in scripture like that. And, Satan says to Yahusha, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you the kingdoms of this world. And he's like, it has been given to me to give to you. So Satan's even saying it's been given to him. This world, this physical, fleshy, lust of the flesh world has been given to him.
And we have to love not the world.
Yeah, that's why it says, do not love the world or anything in it. So, now we're going to move on to the book of Deuteronomy here. Got a couple of cross-references here. It says, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5 says, the apparel of a man shall not be on a woman, neither shall a man put on a woman's dress. for everyone that does these things is an abomination to Yahuwah, your Elohim. So basically, you see this a lot more in modern times, not really back then, but now you see that a lot, where men, you know, are feminine, they put on makeup, they put on lipstick, you know, guys like Prince, Michael Jackson, you know. There's even now, you got the transgender movement, so it's more modern now. I would say this applies to even us more now than it did back then, because back then, guys would never be wearing a dress, they would never be, never be wearing a woman's bra or
but they
stuff
sure
like
do
that.
today.
Now,
They cross-dress.
they cross-dress like that. There's a modern term that I grew up with. It's called gender bending, where you got guys like literally trying to look like a woman. Like you got literally like transgenderism, and then there's on the flip side you got women dressing like guys,
And
trying to look like a guy.
Tell you the truth, I saw someone in the post office today that I couldn't tell if it was a guy or a girl. I just saw the person from behind, and at first I thought it was a young woman, and the closer I looked, the more I thought, well, maybe it's a man, but I can't tell. And we should have we should look like who we are, what we're made to be. And women who cut their hair real short, or men who wear their hair real long, is not scriptural. So if you're trying to live like Yahuwah wants you to live, then you don't want to dress like that or appear like that.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want you even going the next step further and having a sex change. That's even worse. So I'll be honest, like when people say, you know, I feel like someone else inside, you know, that could be a demon telling you that. That's
most likely is.
You know, so Yahuwah made you the way you are. If he made you a male, stay a male. If he made you female, stay female. He made you the way you are, and you know, his understanding is higher than our understanding. His ways are higher than our ways.
Yes.
And let's see, it says, and also I want to go, there's a couple more cross references in the same chapter. There's verse 11, which talks about, my brother Dennis actually brought this up, you shall not wear mingled garments, woolen and linen together. So mingled means like literally mixed. So as Daniel 2:43 has that same word, so basically it means like literally together, like not separate, but like actually mixed, like 50-50, actually like literally together.
Like wool and cotton.
So basically, and I think behind this is more the aspect that we're not supposed to have stuff that's made from like plants and made from animals together, because according to each kind, a seed according to each kind, and every creature according to its kind. And if you have two different kinds matched together, that's actually going against Yahuwah's orders and things. I think that's why he gave this commandment not to have wool and linen together, because then you're mixing like plants and animals together. You're mixing like two different species together technically. So, you know, that's what I think the purpose of that commandment was.
And then there's the tassels, which we are commanded to wear.
Yeah, it says, in the Septuagint will say fringes, in the Hebrew Masoretic will say tzitzis. You shall make tzitzis, aka fringes or tassels, on the four borders of your garments, meaning four corners, with whichsoever you mayest be clothed, meaning that whatever you have on clothing-wise on the four corners of your garments, you could have jeans, that could be the four loops, you could have basketball shorts like me, that would be the four corners of the basketball shorts. A woman has a dress or something, she's got to find like, you know, the four corners somehow.
There are safety pins.
Safety pins you can use for that. There's a reason, you know, they made safety pins. But also, I remember our sister Kristen, when she first got little Ava into wearing them, she had no corners to put for Ava stuff, so what she did with her shirt was kind of took a piece of tape and like tape them onto the four corners of her actual like shirt of her torso. So there's definitely ways to put them on, but the main commandment is somehow whatever garments you have on, get it on the four corners of your garments.
And there's a reason why, because Yahusha tells us that it causes us to remember to keep his commandments.
Yes.
Because you have the blue cord in that tzitzit, and that's supposed to remind us to keep the commandments. And you'll find that, I think it's Numbers 15. Yes.
Verses 37 to 40. It says, And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Yisrael, and you shall tell them, let them make for themselves fringes or tzitzis or tassels upon the borders of their garments throughout their generations. And you shall put upon the fringes of the borders or the tzitzis a lace of blue. So a little lace of blue in that. And it shall be on your fringes or tzitzis, and you shall look on them, and you shall remember all the commandments of Yahuwah and do them.
Yes.
And let's see here. Sorry about that. And that was, all right, so that was verse 39. And you shall not turn back after your imaginations, and after the sight of your eyes, and the things which you go a-whoring, that you may remember.
And do all my commandments.
And you shall perform all my commandments, and you shall be set apart unto your Elohim. I am Yahuwah your Elohim that brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahuwah your Elohim.
Yes.
And that was Numbers 15:37 to 41. So we have, let's see here. So we have basically the reason he's explained is that we don't go after the imaginations of our own heart. We don't have time to get into it, but Jeremiah 17:9 explains that, why it's bad to go after the imaginations of your own heart. Your heart is desperately wicked. Every human, I'm not trying to point fingers, all of us have desperately wicked, natural human hearts. Like I'm talking about the carnal human heart. And Yahuwah hasn't physically given us a new fleshy heart yet. So Ezekiel 36:26-27, I don't believe that has been fully fulfilled yet. We still have our own original fleshy heart, and physically that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Right now he's given us his spirit to guide us to keep his commandments, but eventually he's going to cause us, almost make us keep his commandments. In Ezekiel 36:26-27, it actually says, I will make you.
Yeah, give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you.
So it's not that he's going to force us, but it's more of it's his sovereignty. At that point, we're going to have his heart, so there's going to be no obstinance left of us fighting back against keeping his commandments. And I think that's what he's saying.
And it says he will pour out his spirit on all flesh at the very end, which is going to be wonderful because many people will be ready to repent at that time.
I think the last cross-reference, what would be good to end with, is the one from Yahusha, which so many times gets misunderstood because of stupid King Jimmy that put hem there when hem is not even. All right, so if you want to look it up for yourself, the Greek word in this verse of Matthew 9:20 is kraspedon. That's how it's pronounced. You can look it up, Strong's Concordance. It means, in the Greek to the English, it would have been a tassel or fringe. In the Hebrew, it would have came from the word tzitzi. Does not mean hem. So, if you put the actual correct word in there, you'll see why it's important. Also, and if we're followers of Yahusha, we should be doing what he did. If we say we are in him, we should be walking as he walked. So Matthew 9:20 says, Behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the tassel, the fringe, the tzitzi of his garment, not him. For she said, within herself, if I may touch his tzitzi, his tassel, his fringe, I shall be whole or be restored. I like how it says whole instead of healed. We don't have time to go to that, but healed comes from something else. But but basically, the reason we brought these verses up is because this shows that Yahusha wore tzitzi's tassels, fringes. He actually kept Numbers 15 and Deuteronomy 22, verse 12. So it's important. If we're followers of him, and Paul even says, I forget where in the New Testament Paul says, be mimickers of me because I'm a mimicker of Messiah.
I'm mimic Messiah.
So meaning that if we, want to do what the apostles did and want to do what Yahusha did, we have to walk exactly how they walked. They kept all the commandments. So
yes, they did.
I hope this message to you guys, and hopefully this got something out of it. Sister Sally, to see if she had anything to add.
Do you have anything, Sally?
No, I was just enjoying listening to the study, and I agree with everything that you've just said.
All right, so our last prayer is for you guys. Whoever's listening is not a believer or has been trapped in any of these man-made religions, like a lot of the pagan religions like Hinduism and all that, and possibly Christianity, still in the Christian church, still in Judaism or Islam. I just pray that you accept Yahusha, the true Messiah today, the Son of the living Elohim, Yahuwah, who died for you and rose again for you to be restored to the Father, Yahuwah. I pray that you would accept him today. That's all I got to say. I just hope you have a great rest of your night. And
happy last great day.
Happy last great day to our brothers and sisters out there. Shalom.
Well,
Shalom.